I hope you notice the bench says non-white only, so I'm breaking the rules. But this video is about apartheid. Fortunately, completely abolished in 1994, was somewhat phased out over a few years prior to that here in South Africa. So whites settled permanently in South Africa, 1652, first of all Dutchmen, and it was 82 men and only 8 women from the Netherlands came ashore. Some of the Dutchmen, they intermarried or at least had relations with indigenous women, usually Khoisan women, and the coloured community started. In South Africa, that means people of mixed race, usually partly black, partly white. So the Khoisan people call them sort of ochre-skinned people. That's not intended to be disrespectful. I don't think it is, but they're not Bantu people. The great majority of people in sub-Saharan Africa are Bantu. So Khoisan don't look like what one would typically think of as a black person. And obviously there were white people and black people who had children together and so forth. But eventually, the Dutch community here decided only those who were fully white would have full rights. They had enslaved some of the indigenous people. The Dutch East India Company was sailing on to what we now call Indonesia, enslaved some people there or purchased some people already in servitude, brought them back here to South Africa to work in thraldom. And so the Cape Malay community came, coming from Malaysia, or really Indonesia. People didn't distinguish between Malaysia and Indonesia at the time. So they started this pigmentocracy in South Africa. And see this High Court Civil Annex? I'll go across the street because apartheid really perfected the system of white privilege in 1948 when the National Party was elected, as in fact Afrikaner nationalism. The Dutch-speaking community of South Africa call themselves Afrikaners, as in Africans, but they're white Africans. I mean, their version of the Dutch language became known as Afrikaans. But some of the Afrikaners were not actually of Dutch descent, or of German descent, or French Huguenot descent, which is to say Protestant. And from 1948 onwards, they had the group areas, that various other pieces of legislation saying that only people of a particular race could live in such an area and so forth, and go to the school trying to separate the races. But some people said they were misclassified as whatever racial group and argued to be reclassified, and a few hundred coloured people were reclassified as white. One white person was reclassified as coloured, and so on. And often going to the hair test, as in whether a pencil would stay in your hair. If it stays in your hair, then you're black. If it fell out, you're white, and so on. Okay, so them attributing various characteristics to the races. So they came up with various racial categories, obviously white, Bantu, which is the great majority of black people, and there was Indian, I think Cape Malay, coloured, as in to say mixed race. Am I forgetting any? And so on. Okay, the Malay community here, very few of them are actually completely ethnically Malay.